Hey everyone, I thought I'd try something a little bit different today and do my first ranking video. Now, if you don't know, A24 is a production/distribution company that are probably the go-to studio for more art house projects. I believe that A24 put out some of the most unique, thought-provoking, and stylistic films that I've ever seen, and I thought I should give you my top 10. Now, every film on this list may not be for everyone, and that's okay, but I do think every film here is unique and puts to rest the notion that films aren't original anymore. So, let's get into it. Before I get into the top 10, I'll also give out 5 honourable mentions that I think are also worthy of a recommendation. The first of which is Ex Machina, a claustrophobic and very interesting sci-fi thriller that might have my favourite performance from Oscar Isaac. The film has many twists and turns which lead to a conclusion that makes this very rewatchable.
Dude!
Next, we have Enemy, one of Denis Villeneuve's most interpretive films. This slow-building thriller stacks to pieces nicely, which builds the tension and changes your outlooks on the characters presented throughout the film. This one is very mind-bending, and there's a lot of symbolism presented throughout the film that makes this even more rich in my opinion. Jake Gyllenhaal, as always, gives another spectacular performance here. Then there is Midsommar, Ari Aster's second feature after Hereditary that is just dripping in atmosphere. This has a breakout performance from Florence Pugh, who embraces the vision that Ari Aster has and runs with it. The film manages to create a foreboding and creepy tone, even though the film is almost always in daylight with happy people in a vibrant area, and I think that was an achievement in of itself. Another interesting horror in the honorable mentions is The Witch, Robert Eggers' directorial debut that also has so much atmosphere. The screenplay was one of my favorite aspects to this film, as it shows that Eggers loves to use an older style of dialogue in his films. This is told in a very Shakespearean style of English that may not click with everyone, but to me it fits the time period that the film is told in. The last honorable mention is The Tragedy of Macbeth, another film that fully embraces the Shakespearean language to a point where you will definitely miss some things, but to me that just makes it better for rewatchability. Denzel Washington got nominated for an Oscar for his performance because he is excellent, especially in the third act. The cinematography is also extremely stunning, utilizing a black and white 4:3 aspect ratio that enhances the film's atmosphere a lot more.
My name's Macbeth.
Now, let's get into the top 10. All 10 of these films I would give a 5 stars to, and all for different reasons, because all 10 of these films are extremely different from one another, and that truly showcases how diverse and interesting A24 are as a studio.
Cinema is an event.
Now, numbers 10 to 8 are all interchangeable right now, but at 10 I'm going to have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is the new Kung Fu multiverse film about where an interdimensional rupture unravels reality and an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. This film is relentlessly entertaining. Daniels are some of the more interesting directors, and they embrace fully weird when they make their films. This absolutely goes for it, but the weirdness isn't the only thing great about this film. The performances are top-notch from everyone involved. The two leads, played by Michelle Yeoh and Ki Hai Kwan, managed to perform excellent comedic acting with dramatic moments that perfectly complement Daniel's script. This might be one of the more accessible A24 films due to the use of multiverse and kung fu, so if you're looking for an entry point into these kinds of films, there is nowhere better to start than here. At number 9, we have Waves, the last film from Trey Edward Schultz, which is a film about a family dealing with a very personal tragedy. Now, what makes this film so special is both the craft behind this and the way the story is told. The film is absolutely devastating and will throw so much at you in the first half. And then the film completely changes its tone in the second half. Both add a lot to the film. I would say the first half is better because it is just so chaotic and emotional. The second half is a little slower, but it is still excellent. I've only seen Waves once, and so much of it still sticks in my mind because of the story, the soundtrack, which utilizes a lot of modern R&B music, and then the technical elements like the cinematography, which is extremely dynamic. Number 8 is Minari, which is one of the few A24 films to ever get nominated for Best Picture, and it lives up to that reputation and became my favorite film of 2020. Minari is a film about a Korean family moving to Arkansas to start a farm and start a new life while trying to strengthen as a family. Minari tells one of the most heartwarming films I have ever seen. It is told with such precision and empathy. Lee Isaac Chung really captures the difficulties of starting with nothing and trying to build something for your family. This also has one of the best scores I have heard from composer Emile Masseri. It also enhances the experience in capturing the type of film this is. The performances are great from everyone. Both Stephen Yeun and Yoon Jun Young both got nominated for their roles here, and it was completely deserved. Number 7 is The Disaster Artist, which tells the real story of how the cult classic The Room was made, which has the reputation of being the worst movie ever made. And if you haven't seen that, definitely give it a watch because it is a wildly funny movie to watch. The Disaster Artist, instead of laughing at the movie, actually approaches this with some empathy, and it ends up telling an inspiring story of making your dreams come true while capturing the creative process of filmmaking. James Franco is excellent playing Tommy Wiseau, and it looked like he actually cared about what Tommy thought about this film. Even having him at the premiere and asking him what he thought afterwards.
I didn't know what he was going to think of it the first time he saw it. Because he said of the book, Greg's book, it's only 40% true.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so we based it on that book, and I thought he would maybe not like it. He said, no, I approve 99.9%.
I would definitely watch The Room first, though, if you want to see this, as I think it makes this story feel a lot more compelling and you will understand the inside jokes that the film presents. Number 6 is The Green Knight, David Lowery's medieval epic about Sir Gawain traveling to find the Green Knight after he was invited to participate in a game of the Green Knight's creation. I think this might be my favorite medieval era film I've seen in a very long time. This might not be for everyone though, because it doesn't have big spectacle battles or even a lot of action, but the symbolism, the cinematography, and performances are all extremely compelling to me. The film always captured my attention, and it is extremely layered to the point where I could watch this 10 times and get something different from it each time. The third act fully embraces that element with giving you a lot to interpret. I don't think it is that difficult to keep up with if you're on the film's wavelength, but I have seen some audiences complaining about that. However, in my opinion, this is one of my favorite films in 2021, as I was just so compelled from start to finish. Number 5 is Uncut Gems, one of the most chaotic films I've ever seen, which captures a story where a jewelry shop owner makes increasingly terrible decisions and tries to swindle his way out of all of these situations. The Safdie brothers have basically created their own genre at this point, which started with Good Time, and they fully run with it here. Adam Sandler plays the protagonist and gives a career-defining performance. It is one of his few serious roles, and this fully showcases that he has just been doing the easiest possible roles to make money, which I don't mind his comedies that much, but I feel like if he did more roles like this, he would have an Oscar by now. This is one of the most stressful films of all time, so if you have gotten through a tough day and are stressed out, maybe watch something else, but if not, definitely check this out because it's excellent. Number 4 is Mid-90s, Jonah Hill's directorial debut about a 13-year-old kid in the 90s navigating a troubled home life and a group of new friends he finds at a skate shop. What makes this film so special to me is Jonah Hill's unapologetic directing, as he is solely focused on immersing us in the 90s and allowing us to see how this friendship evolves. The majority of actors in this film are actually skaters, and this is their first performance. You may know the lead Sonny Solchich if you have played God of War, as he plays Atreus. He is also great here and gives one of my favorite child performances. The other characters, 4th grade, Fuckshit, and Ray, all have moments that are excellent, and in 80 minutes, Jonah Hill manages to tell so much and capture an authentic friend group so well. Also, the touch of having this filmed on a grainy 16mm further immerses you in that 90s feeling. Number 3 is Ari Aster's horror masterpiece, Hereditary, a film about dealing with a disturbing tragedy and the grief that follows. Ari Aster manages to capture real emotions like that grief and sadness that follows a tragedy that this film has so well, and that makes the horror even more terrifying. Toni Collette gives one of the best performances I've ever seen. Her emotions are what make the film feel so heavy and becomes the catalyst of the horror that follows. This film doesn't rely on jump scares to scare you, instead it utilizes slow, subtle imagery that haunts you afterwards. The way this film utilizes shadows is excellent, so much so that you might not recognize something creepy in the shot unless your TV is bright enough and you can quickly spot these things. The last act of the film then goes full horror and just doesn't let go. It is relentless and it is excellent. There is also a lot to take in at the end that captures how much in command of his craft Ari Aster is. Number 2 is The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is about a man trying to reclaim a home that was built by his grandfather. From the first 10 minutes, I could tell that this film was going to be special through its cinematography and score. As someone who has been to San Francisco before, this felt like a real love letter to the city by capturing both the beauty of it and the weirdness of it. I also love how much of a personal story this is. The protagonist of the story is played by the man who actually went through these events, and it made me love this film so much more. Jonathan Majors also gives a breakout performance here. He has so many great moments that make his character really endearing. I also have a full analysis of this film on my Letterboxd if you want to see that too. My number 1 A24 film is one of my favorite films of all time, and that is The Lighthouse, the second film from Robert Eggers, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, about two lighthouse keepers losing their sanity as they are stranded at a lighthouse in the middle of the ocean. The film is extremely weird and might be the least accessible film on this list, but it is so great. The film is oozing an atmosphere from the production design and the cinematography. The film gets progressively more weird as these characters become more insane. I think what makes this film so great is that I've seen this film many times, and each time I've gotten something new from it, as every detail helps tell this story. There are quite a few theories about what this film is, as it is very interpretive, and the brilliance of this film is that it provokes your imagination so much that each theory that I've come up with it fit what this film is about. Both Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe give committed performances that distinguish these two right away. There are some funny moments too that shows this film isn't at all pretentious and is actually just trying to capture you in this time period and tell this very weird and at times funny story.
It's funny.
You didn't get the joke, so...
Thanks for watching this ranking. I hope I've introduced some of you to films that you'll find interesting, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.